So do you suppose that this actually might be a happy ending? Well, we'll see. Hey folks, MasakoX here. Happy holidays everyone! For this December 25th outing, we are going to conclude this story about something which came about during one of our recent Roundtable live streams. We do get a lot of good story suggestions on those from you chums out there, and this is simply one of the latest examples. What am I referring to though exactly? Well, it's all to do with the notion of Raditz coming to Earth, like he does in the original, with the idea to find out what his brother is up to, and maybe either bring him back into the fold of Vegeta and Nappa, or end him for not doing his job and getting kudos for it. No, none of that happens. Ironically though, what happened to Goku happens to Raditz as well. What if the farmer, instead of being felled by the Saiyan, won the day? Now, of course, he didn't win it in the way you would think, or how the memes would portray it. This time around, it had something to do with luck and the farmer being in the right place at the right time. Something which we tackled in the last part of this adventure. In that tale, thanks to the might of 2,000 ostrich chickens, that's what they are literally called, they are what you think they are, it was enough to distract Raditz and for the farmer to get a pot shot on the Saiyan, and for him to hit a boulder at terminal velocity, and then being pummeled by the feet of several big birds. As a result, Raditz no longer knew who he was, and the farmer took him in as their adoptive son, now named Triga. Not knowing his origins anymore, Triga became a valuable member of the family, as well as a very talented farmer and agriculturist. That is until Goku shows up! When Goku found him, he then found out he had great power behind him, and thanks to his parents, was now the main focus of Goku's interest. Goku wants to fight strong guys, and Triga's innate power was over 4 times stronger than his own. However, that also caught the ire of Piccolo, and now we have witnessed the Slug Boy getting decked in the schnoz for daring to hurt Triga's new friend. We conclude our story with Piccolo having been sent flying for a considerable distance from just one punch from Triga. The amnesiac had no idea that his true strength was that potent. He was gazing at his fist for what seemed like hours. That punch didn't drain him, it filled him with confidence actually. Almost like his body was itching for more. That's the Saiyan in him. He hadn't really thought about fighting all that much since the farmer took him in. By the way, he does have a name, I found out in the Japanese dub, the farmer, Nofu, which means farmer. Hey, it's better than nothing, and far less repetitive than me just saying farmer all the time. Now he had met Goku though, Triga, not Nofu, he was getting more and more into the idea of martial arts. Goku was stood on the spot and utterly amazed by Triga's power. Amazing! You did all that in one punch? I knew it! You are strong! Triga looks a little bashful. Come now! I didn't mean to do that! I don't even know how I did it! And quite frankly, I don't feel tired after doing it. Goku blinked. He didn't feel tired after that? You mean you weren't going all out? Triga shrugged. No. Goku beamed, his tension alleviating for just a moment, before Piccolo arrived back on the scene, massaging his nearly broken jaw. Enough with the games, he shouted. It's time to get serious. Triga and Goku looked at him with stern looks and got ready to fight him head on. Triga raced forward, and both he and Piccolo began to spar, with the former looking completely unfazed by the flurry of blows. Piccolo was having to reach his limit all of the time just to even keep up with Triga. Goku was just standing there, transfixed with what he was witnessing. Oh boy, wait till I get into Master Roshi! With one swift strike, Piccolo is bodied to the ground, and he is struggling to get up from this one. Triga loomed over him. For the last time, get out of here, if you know what's good for you. Leave us alone! Piccolo was grunting with anger and frustration. He had no answer to this. Not even his new ultimate technique would be enough right now. Well, it might be, if he played it cool. He got up and bowed, which took the Saiyans off guard. You're right. I give up. I'm far too weak for you two. You've got your way. You won't be seeing me again. Without a chance to retort, Piccolo just flew away from view, having the last word. Goku and Triga were left there, and the former was so proud of what he saw. "Seriously? You are seriously cool, Trigger! I gotta start training with you, like, right now!" Trigger, looking a little concerned, tries to wave this aside. "Goku, calm down there! I'm not even in the right attire, and besides, I don't really know much about you." Goku got into his stance, but he looked happy. "Tell you what, we can talk more if we just have one little itty bitty sparring session right now. Please?" Trigger sighed and relented. As the two of them fought for a little bit, Goku's mind was occupied with this greater power in front of him. Piccolo, though, hadn't gone. He was in hiding a couple of 100 yards away. He was charging something. "If I could get that lumbering oaf out of the way," he muttered to himself, "then I can easily take down Goku. He won't have his new bodyguard to protect him." He was charging his special beam cannon, and the targets were still sparring, unaware of his presence. Trigger was reluctant at first to fight, but he did get into it once he actually focused. But Goku sensed something, a sudden bolt of energy nearby, but it was too late for them to counter. "Trigger, look out!" "What?" A massive purple and yellow spiral shot towards them, Goku feeling its energy, and it outweighed his friends. This was dangerous. Trigger had just about enough time, thanks to Goku's warning, to move out of the way enough for the attack to not hit him squarely in the middle of the torso. But it did hit his side, which was enough to incapacitate him. Trigger fell to the ground in pain and clutched his side. Goku rushed to his aid and in a flash knew what to do. He knew Piccolo was nearby now. He could focus. And also, that power surely couldn't be replenished immediately. That was a one and done affair. Without hesitation, he grabbed Trigger, called for Nimbus, and took him to Korin's tower. Piccolo just watched them go, thinking that even if they could heal that oaf, it would have been enough to get the message across. You do not mess with the son of the great King Piccolo. When they arrived at Korin's tower, Goku was telling Trigger to hang in there. The cat was happy to help a friend of Goku, and he had a bean ready to go. "Trigger, eat this!" "Goku, I'm not in the mood to eat. It'll make you better, trust me." Trigger looked at the bean and swallowed it. But within seconds, he felt himself change. His body magically healing. The wound had gone. The pain had ceased. In fact, he felt better than ever. He couldn't explain it, but his body felt even more full of life than before the fight with Piccolo. Trigger leapt up and was amazed with this recovery. "What was in that thing?" Korin nodded. "That's your magical Senzu bean there, friend. One of my greatest tools in my belt. The takeaway from all this is, you're welcome." Trigger was now realizing he was talking to a cat. What is that?" "Oh, that's Korin. He's one of the caretakers of Earth. That reminds me, since we're here, you want to meet Kami, the Guardian of Earth?" "Guardian? You know him?" "Uh-huh. He trained me a few years back. I'm sure he'd be delighted to meet you, a friend of mine." "Well, I mean, things can't get any weirder than they are now." Within minutes, they had flown up to Kami's lookout, and the tall fellow introduced himself to Kami. But the old sage didn't look all that happy to see him. The elder looked at Trigger's tail, having been wrapped around his belt, and had a pensive look on his brow. "A tail, just like Goku. Tell me something. Did you recently arrive here, stranger?" Trigger looked puzzled. I don't really remember. I can't answer your question, old man. Sorry." "There is no need to answer," Kami said. "I see. I literally saw it. You arriving. My job is to observe this planet and anything that may endanger its safety. You arrived on a pod, much like Goku's back in the day. You two have something in common. Forgive my harsh words, but I fear that you may have come here initially for nefarious reasons." Trigger is floored by this. "You mean he's an alien?" Goku was also confused. "A pod? I arrived in a pod?" Kami then realized he never told Goku this before, but now this seemed like the right thing to tell. "Yes, you did, Goku. Your grandpa did raise you and adopt you, that part's true. But you are not from this world, and neither are you, Trigger." The pair looked at each other. If they had arrived in the same kind of craft, did that mean that they came from the same place? Were they connected in some shape or form? Kami, still looking anxious, asked Trigger something. "Do you wish harm on this world?" Trigger vehemently shouted back. "Of course not! I have no desire to hurt anyone! I just want a peaceful life with my new family, to live on the farm. I don't wish to cause trouble. Believe me, please." Goku looks to him as he says this, and can tell his words are genuine. "He's telling the truth, Kami. I've met his folks, and they seem like hardworking people. He really does mean no harm. I believe him." Kami nods, taking this on board. "Well, if Goku does believe you, then that does count for something. Very well. If you sincerely wish no ill on this world, then, Trigger, I welcome you to Earth. Try not to scuff it up too much, like Goku here." Goku then looks a little bashful. "Sorry, I get carried away sometimes from training." Trigger then laughs and feels more relaxed. In the minutes that follow, Kami explains the tale of Goku and how he came to train with him years ago, and all of the adventures that he had had with his friends. Trigger took this all in, looking very enthusiastic, feeling quite lucky to have met this fascinating individual. He now could rest easy, knowing that this caretaker of the world liked him. Now, I bet you're wondering, do Nappa and Vegeta come after Raditz in the story? Well, no. They did consider going to look for their comrade when they first heard the scouter going kaput, but Vegeta chose not to, as it was too much effort for no reward seemingly. Remember, they only went to Earth in the original story to learn more about those Dragon Balls, the ones that could grant wishes, not to avenge their fallen friend. No, it was too out of their way to follow him, a year out in space for no reward? No, in this story they just leave him for dead. So, yeah, no Nappa and Vegeta. Without them paying a visit, space doesn't really factor into the story at all. There is no Vegeta saga, there's no Namek, no Frieza, no Super Saiyan. None of the first half of Dragon Ball Z happens. Goku and Trigger are, as far as the story is concerned, the two strongest beings on Earth, and there is no compulsion or need to investigate the stars. When Trigger and Goku return to the farm, Piccolo now keeping his distance, having now wrongly assumed that they would be scared, after what happened he could now sense that Trigger's power had increased considerably, and Trigger himself was unaware of his Zenkai boost innately. The demon hadn't expected that. He had unwittingly caused his new adversary to get even stronger. Wow. All I can say is, Goku, is that you are an incredible man. Goku then laughs it off, looking quite modest. You're right. It's been a wild ride these last few years. But going back to what I talked about, you want to train some more sometime? I don't know how it happened, but since you got better with the bean, your power's like even bigger. I want to catch up to you. Trigger had been stunned a lot today, but there was room for some more astonishment. Well, okay, you twisted my arm, I suppose. The pair shake hands and vow to train more together and to get stronger. With no interruptions from space, Trigger and Goku become firm friends, and the former becomes a firm member of the Dragon Team. With his inclusion, the gang all train with each other much more often, and get much stronger than they do in this time in the original story. Now, you might be thinking, is this all chummy-wummy type stuff a good thing? For Earth, does it remain peaceful? Well, you see, the farmer defeating Raditz is ultimately the thing that doomed Earth as we knew it. Now, don't get me wrong, years do pass and the Dragon Team have welcomed Trigger with open arms, things have been absolutely hunky-dory. The farm has done fantastic business, and the strength that Trigger had made him a household name. Not as well known as Hercule could be in the original or anything, but definitely enough to make Trigger and the farm he worked on at least a C-list level of celebrity. He had mainly focused on his training and farm work, keeping a modest living, and as a result, he hadn't met anybody actually who had sparked his interest in terms of love. But he was okay with that for the moment. As far as he was concerned, there was plenty of time to find love. Or so he thought. Now, you may have thought that Super Saiyan might have inadvertently come into the training at some point, because, you know, powers get stronger, tests get limited, maybe sometimes there might be a bit of a temper, but no, we don't have the luxury of Super Saiyan in this story. Because, again, without the intervention of space, no going to Frieza. But I think you may be guessing that things might be getting worse here. Now, okay, of course, there is no heart virus or anything like that because, of course, Goku doesn't go to space. So those 6 months between them and the thing we're about to talk about remain okay. But bad news arrived. On that fateful day, May 12th, 2 androids emerged, and their power was unlike anything the Dragon team had seen or could counter. Androids 17 and 18 rained down chaos on the land on behalf of Dr. Gero, having now gotten his revenge on Goku and his friends. In fact, Trigger's arrival had been a blessing in disguise. His power was even greater than his nemesis had been, Goku, and without the utter mayhem of the Goku and Vegeta fight destroying the nanobug drones, or the tryptonymic clouding further gains, Gero saw everything they did. He had much more data to work with to use for his creations. There was no means to counter, and all of the Dragon team was just completely wasted. Nobody survived. Not even Kirin. Even the likes of Chi-Chi, Roshi, Oolong, Puar, no one was safe. The Earth was completely ravaged, and humanity was left cowering with fear. And we don't even have the Namekian Dragon Balls to help our heroes. Remember, no space friends made themselves known. Kami's relaxed attitude to Trigger resulted in no further inquiry into their origins. As far as the Guardian was concerned, Trigger was A-OK, the same as Goku, without any kind of cause to even investigate. And it then led to complacency and a return to the status quo. So, my dear viewers, the farmer offing Raditz would be, actually, the worst thing that could happen to the Dragon team. Now, I do apologise for the somber conclusion, my friends, but it's something that would realistically occur had Vegeta and Nappa chosen not to intervene. They did a lot for the story. No reason to go to Namek, no meeting Frieza. It all hinged on the Dragon team winning out against the androids later on. The farmer, Nofu, was the first piece of the puzzle, and without his sacrifice, letting Raditz go to meet Goku and all that, the rest of the jigsaw is completely written off. So what did you folks think? Did this ending get you down? What other things could have occurred to write this story? Perhaps maybe I'll revisit it with an alternative ending. But anyway, leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later.